This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim pass the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know it says New York Knicks versus Memphis Grizzlies at the bottom. That'll be fixed in just a second, so be patient with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be having that fixed in just 1 second. But anyway, the New York Knicks take on the Brooklyn Nets today at 1 p.m. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a big game for the New York Knicks. You know what I mean? They had a chance to change their record to just 9 games below 500 versus the Memphis Grizzlies, and they were unable to do so. They lost that game. And so they're now they continue to be, well, they're 11 games below 500. They have a chance today to get back to being just 10 games below 500. And it's going to be a difficult task because the Brooklyn Nets are again playing with Kevin Durant. Now, Kyrie Irving will not be playing today because the Knicks and the Nets are they're in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving can't play in Brooklyn. He can't play in New York, as it has been all season long. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very different Brooklyn Nets team. All right, now we're going to give you some numbers later on in the show of what the Knicks and Nets have done in the past, but for the most part, it means nothing. It means nothing because this team, as was constructed, talking about the Nets, earlier in the season, it's totally different. It's a totally different basketball squad. All right, so we're going to go ahead and break this one down, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take a look at the injury report for both teams, and then we'll get into some matchups. Before I get to that, though, I do want to remind folks, if you are an NBK member, join us for the watch-along at 1 p.m. All right, I'm going to drop the link to the community section post where you can get the link to the StreamYard chat if you are an NBK member. So make sure you join us there. It's going to be dope. It was dope the last time. Andy should be there. Hopefully some other people will be able to drop through. We want you to make sure that you can drop through, ladies and gentlemen. So join us. And I'm going to put a link to the community section right now. So if you're a member, you can get a link to the watch-along chat. All right? It's going to be real dope. So make sure you join us there. All right, anyway, injury reports for the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty much the same. All right, Obi Toppin, he remains questionable for today. Cam Reddish is out for the season. Quentin Grimes is out. Nerlens Noel is out. Derrick Rose is out. All right, we know Kemba Walker is not with the team. So not much has changed for the New York Knicks as far as injuries are concerned. You know, my hope is that Obi Toppin at least can come back soon. Quentin Grimes can come back soon so that the Knicks can get a little bit of depth, because sooner or later, you know, these guys are going to really, really wear thin, and they're not going to have enough juice to get out there on the court and ball. Julius Randle played 40 minutes last game. RJ Barrett's playing 40 minutes a game. It's going to wear thin on these guys, man. And we already, listen, Julius Randle already has problems performing in the clutch in the fourth quarter. RJ Barrett, you know, he can be up and down in the fourth quarter. He's played well, very well recently. Last game out against the Memphis Grizzlies, didn't shoot well from the field. But ladies and gentlemen, if these guys are going to go 40, 45 minutes a game, it's going to be tough for the Knicks to perform in the fourth quarter. So I see Andy says that Obi is available. That's great. We need Obi to be available, ladies and gentlemen, because the Knicks need that depth. Get my man Ron in the building. Ron, what's going on with you, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm okay. What's going on, Sim? How you doing, brother?
I feel pretty good. I feel real good, as a matter of fact. We're just going over the injury report for the game today. You know what I mean? And we just got the news that Obi Toppin is going to be available for today.
Oh, nice.
All right, from Andy. So that's good. The Knicks need some depth out there. You know what I mean? They need some depth out there to give Julius Randle a bigger breather. You know what I mean? Instead of going 40 minutes a night, give RJ Barrett a bigger breather. Because with the Knicks only going, I mean, they're using 9 off the bench, but for the most part, they're going 8 because a guy like Jericho Sims is only getting a couple of minutes out there, right? You got Mitch and Taj normally manning that center spot. And then, you got Deuce and Emmanuel quickly doing what they do. But you got to have, and Deuce is not getting that many minutes either. So you're really going with like 7 guys for the most part. Because Sims and Deuce, their minutes can be up and down. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so you're really going with Taj and Emmanuel quickly off the bench. You're kind of going with 7, and it's just not enough. You got to have a little bit more depth than that. You know what I'm saying? Or guys are going to wear thin. So it's a good thing if Obi Toppin is able to play today. I mean, it's a really good thing if he's able to play today. For the Brooklyn Nets, right, that Kyrie Irving, he's not playing today, all right, because of, COVID stuff. So, he's not playing today. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. You know about Joe Harris. Of course, you know about Ben Simmons. So, they're playing with, listen, they still have a lethal lineup. They still have a lineup that can give you some problems out there on the floor. It's a very different Nets team that the Knicks are going to be facing today. You know what I'm saying? But still, it's a lethal lineup. You know what I mean? Looking at the projected lineups for today, for the New York Knicks, you got Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. And for the Brooklyn Nets, and let me scroll this back to matchups, not defensive matchups, or starting lineups, not defensive matchups. And for the Brooklyn Nets, you got Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Kevin Durant, Bruce Brown, and Andre Drummond. All right, so just initial thoughts, Ron, your initial thoughts about today's matchup versus the Nets.
I think it's funny because it doesn't, honestly, when I think about this Knicks team, I don't think it's that scary of a matchup, but we've seen what's already happened in the past. Mm-hmm. And now that they do have, a little bit of their firepower back, I think it's tough, but I think the Knicks can win this game. So I'm kind of confident in it, especially how they've been playing lately.
Yeah, I think they can too. One of the reasons is RJ Barrett and the way that RJ Barrett's been playing, because for the most part, he's been non-existent in these 2 matchups that the Knicks have had with the Brooklyn Nets so far this season. So I do think it's almost like the Knicks getting and you'll see the numbers later, it's almost like the Knicks getting another player, you know what I'm saying, in this matchup. So that definitely gives me some encouragement today. It's going to be tough, though, because the Nets are fighting for something big. Mm-hmm. And, the Knicks are fighting too, but the Nets, they got that guy over there, Kevin Durant. Kev, what's going on, man? Not to be confused with Kevin Durant.
You got to use the cornerstone.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Salute to the chat and everything. I'm going to use an analogy.
And you guys see we got Kev out from under the water, right? Sounds much better today, right?
Well, I did exactly what you said before I came on and everything. So that's about it. And believe it or not, I thought the game was tonight. I didn't know it was on at 1 o'clock and everything. So
Seems like there's a few people confused about today's game.
yeah, just a little.
You know, you got time going forward. You know, people all confused, all kinds of stuff going on.
True.
Absolutely. Lenny Kravitz came out with a song years ago called "Can't Get You Off My Mind." So using today's game, I can't get that loss of 28 points out of my, up 28 points and then still losing. I can't get that out of my mind and everything. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to be positive. It's a fresh start today. It's another opportunity to finally get a win against Brooklyn.
Oh, you said what 20-point loss? What 20-point loss?
No, it was we were up 28 and we lost by 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm old, man. I mean, come on. I mean, I say stuff and everything. So. Gonna be 52, but anyway. But yeah, that dynamic of that loss still haunts me, today, because we could be up whatever, and all it takes is for Kevin Durant to have a monster game against us, and we still not handle everyone else, the supporting cast. They have no Kyrie. They have no Kyrie Irving. They have no LaMarcus Aldridge, which I think is I think will be a big blow to their front line. So of course, no Ben Simmons.
The tough thing about that is they didn't have Kevin Durant playing that game. He was a cheerleader on the sideline.
True.
Cheerleader. You know what I'm saying?
But Aldridge did play very well in that game against us, so maybe him not being there is a help, is a good sign.
Yeah, maybe. But you still got to deal with that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You still got to deal with that guy. And the last time the Knicks played, what was it, February 16th or whatever it was, they were just coming together. Right, this team as currently constructed, right, off of the, off of the trade for Ben Simmons and all of that, and still with them just getting together, and they were able to manufacture a big comeback the way that they did. Listen, I think the Knicks have some vengeance in their heart, though. You know what I mean? They don't like the way that felt. And I don't want to say that didn't start off a series of events, because it had been happening, but that was kind of like the crescendo.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was like the pinnacle of it, for real. You know what I mean? And that really sent Knicks fans into like, oh my God, this season is it's just way out of hand. You know what I mean? It's amazing that somebody didn't get fired, a front office person or Tom Thibodeau or whatever, because that was huge, man. 28 points, you're up 28 points.
That's going to go down as one of the worst losses it's not just one of the worst losses I think it was the worst loss this year, but one of the worst losses in Knicks history.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
And the thing about it, Ron, is that was, I think for me, the icing on the cake, because before that, we were up, plus 20 in a couple of games. It was against Portland, against OKC. I'm still trying to shake that one off and everything. But when you saw we were up 28 on this one, it was like, oh, we're going to win this one. And then what happens? Little by little, they chip away until finally we're tight, because in the mentality, in the minds of, the players, they're like, oh, here we go again. And then they finally, finally collapse. And then we're the talk of the, talk of ESPN and everything. And it was, it still resonates with me.
No, I hear you. That's a tough one to shake. But one thing I will say that I feel is good, even though this Knicks team still is in search of a closer. We don't have a true closer to take us through the fourth quarter. As a team, as a team, they've been doing a lot better at closing out these games, going wire to wire in some of these games recently. And even though we lost that game to Memphis, I think they tried and did a lot of good things down the stretch to try to get the victory. There was a couple of misplays by Fournier and Burks that allowed Morant to leak out, which I was informed by other people. So they did the analysis and broke that down for me. But stuff like that happened. That's a problem. But I think they're much. Listen, this Knicks team 2 weeks ago, in that Memphis game, we would have got blown out, or even if we were winning, the collapse would have been huge in the fourth quarter. So they're playing better, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't take that away. I cannot take that away. I really thought we had a chance to beat Memphis, but it is what it is. My only coaching critique was I would have rathered Tibbs leave Deuce in there just a little bit longer than when he took him out and everything at key moments. But it is what it is. It's over with.
Yeah,
we're here.
Well, listen, Deuce. He maybe needed today. You know what I'm saying? You got some guys out there that can shoot the ball, and you may need someone to chase around Seth Curry, Patty Mills, et cetera, et cetera. Now, looking at matchups for today, right? It's not going to look exactly the way it looks in the starting lineup, or if you go to NBA.com and you see who's playing what positions. It's not going to look that way. For me, I have Alec Burks guarding Patty Mills, most likely, right? Evan Fournier guarding Bruce Brown. R.J. Barrett chasing around Seth Curry. Of course, Julius Randle, Kevin Durant, and then Mitchell Robinson and Andre Drummond. It could change. It could be very different, come game time. But I think, just looking at the numbers, looking at the way guys play, this might be the most likely matchups. Size-wise, et cetera, et cetera. I really don't want Evan Fournier chasing around Seth Curry.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Right? So I'd rather have him play against a Bruce Brown, who's maybe a little bit more stationary, but still a guy that can get off. He's still a guy that can play some basketball. But I'd rather have R.J. Barrett defending Seth Curry. Now, they're small. The Nets are, when you look at their guard alignment, Patty Mills, Bruce Brown, Seth Curry, 1 through 3, those guys are pretty small, to be honest with you. Seth Curry is 6'4". Bruce Brown, I think, is 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that. Patty Mills is small. Of course, you got Kevin Durant and you got Andre Drummond, who, make up a little bit of the size difference.
Right.
But we got, 3 guys that, Alec Burks is 6'5", RJ 6'7", Evan Fournier like 6'7", who got to chase around some small guys out there. And that can be troublesome, I think. You know what I mean? Because those guys are smaller. They're lower to the ground, which can allow penetration. You don't have a lot of penetration from the guards, though, in this lineup. You know what I mean? Which I guess benefits the Knicks. Obviously, you got Kevin Durant, who can, do whatever he wants out there on the floor. But from the guard standpoint, you don't have a whole lot of penetration in attacking the basket. But you got some guys that can knock down the 3-ball and really give you some issues from that standpoint. Ron, what's your take on Alec Burks and Patty Mills?
I think it's a really good matchup for Alec Burks. Patty Mills, we know he's a really good, he's a very good outside perimeter shooter, but he doesn't do too much penetrating and affecting the game in that way. So that might help Burks because, Burks can stay with him and be, give us some of that defense we've been lacking recently because he has been. Excuse me, he has been getting a little bit exposed in some of the matchups recently, especially the Ja Morant matchup. But you can't blame him. Ja was so dynamic. Ja was really running all over the court. Yeah, no problem. He was really running all over the court, and it definitely made Burks look like he was non-existent on defense. So I think that the Patty Mills will be refreshing for him to see. So I like Burks in the matchup. I also like the fact that Burks he found his offensive game recently, so that's a good sign. If he continues that, I think that he wins this matchup easily.
Yeah, he has been playing well, and I think it's due to the lack of players that the Knicks have on the floor. You know what I mean? There's no other point guards that's going to come after him. He could just play. He knows Kemba Walker. He knows he's not going to the bench to be a shooting guard. You know what I mean? He knows he's going to be running that point guard spot, and I think it's helping him play better.
Yeah, guys, I got to get off. Unfortunately, something's come up. But I think I think I'm going to give us a chance today. I think we can win today. I just need these guys just to stay poised, and I don't know what I don't know, but I'm hoping that we get a win today.
All right,
but
Ken.
I will be on the after game. So
all right. Well, hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I think Alec Burks is just getting comfortable out there because he's not being moved around from spot to spot. You know what I mean? So I think he's getting more comfortable. As far as Evan Fournier and Bruce Brown, the one thing about Alec Burks is he's going to have to watch Patty Mills. Don't let Patty Mills can get off and get hot. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So he's really got to be on it. He can't let him get off and get hot. Evan Fournier, Bruce Brown, if that's the matchup, right? And I'm assuming that might be the matchup. What's your take on that matchup?
It's tough because the way Evan Fournier has been playing lately, he's been contributing, but he hasn't been when he's going like he has that mode when he really gets into the game and his outside shot is clicking and he's really affecting the Knicks. It's tough because Bruce Brown is no slouch on the defensive end, man. Right. That's he might put Fournier in some very uncomfortable positions where he like the thing with Fournier is like his game. I don't want to say it's limited, but he shoots that three. He actually forces those three shots, and then sometimes he can take you off the dribble, give you like that little mid-range floater or layup type thing he has. But it's really tough against a good defender who is expecting you to do that stuff. So I'd like to see how Fournier adjusts, knowing that he's going to have Bruce Brown on him. I think, the good thing about it is we haven't seen that much of, big impact with these last couple games from Fournier. So if Bruce Brown does kind of silence him and he's not able to put up a good number of points, the Knicks can still win this game because they've been doing it, without his help. Now, if some way, I would think if I was the Knicks, Fournier, he's on the court, he's starting, he's playing like he's playing like 30 minutes a game. Give Fournier a couple screens, some have him maybe a couple plays where him and Julius do that two-man game that they've done. Don't overuse it, but here and there just to give him some looks to free him up. And I think that might help his game. But as far as Bruce Brown, on the other end, I don't think Bruce Brown is not really an offensive threat. So I don't think Fournier has to worry too much about that. But I guess I would initially give that matchup to Bruce Brown.
Okay. I think Evan Fournier, like you said, he hasn't really played. He hasn't had a big game recently. He might be due for a game today.
He could be. He
could be due for a game. You know what I mean? I hope he's due for a game. The Knicks need somebody. The Knicks need a third guy to step up and be able to, really be. Well, Alec Burks has. They need another guy to step up and really be lethal out there on the field. And the reason why I think it's important with Evan Fournier is, because he can really become a flamethrower from the three-point line. It's just not always consistent. But he can become a flamethrower from that three-point line. You know what I'm saying? And when he is, it makes the Knicks a different team. When he's really knocking it down from the three-point line. I think I'm going to go with Evan Fournier today.
Okay.
I think, maybe he's due to have a pretty decent, like a really good game. He's been getting his 12 to 16 points, but he might be due to have a really good game today. The next matchup is RJ Barrett and Seth Curry. And this is interesting to me because, well, over 2 games, RJ Barrett's only played one of those games, and he only had 4 points in that first game, the first game that he played. Right, so that's why he's my Thrive Fantasy player to watch today. because I think he's going to be, his production is needed. He's been playing well. He didn't shoot well from the field in the last game, but for the most part, he's been playing well, and the Knicks are really going to need him today. He did not play February 16th versus the Nets, but on November 30th versus the Nets, he had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. He shot 66.7% from the field, but he wasn't really getting the ball. All right. And, he didn't shoot any threes, and he didn't shoot any free throws. All right. The Knicks are going to need R.J. Barrett today. And this is why I say it's like getting a whole nother player for the Knicks, because he didn't play well in the first game, and he didn't play in the second game at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, this is going to be like the Knicks getting another player, because R.J. Barrett, his mindset is different in the way that he approaches the basketball game. So, with that being said, and he's going to come out, obviously they're going to, they played against R.J. Barrett before, and they're going to game plan for him. But this is like, the Knicks, at least versus the Nets, bringing in a contributor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That the Nets haven't matched up against.
A big contributor. Actually, for us.
A big contributor. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you got R.J. Barrett facing off against Seth Curry. I'm going with R.J. Barrett in this one. I think R.J. Barrett should be able to post him up a little bit. Obviously he's got to chase Seth Curry around, which could be, difficult, because, it could wear on his legs a little bit, but I think he'll be okay. I think R.J. Barrett, should be able to use his size and physicality to win this matchup.
Great.
What do you think?
I agree with you. On that. The only thing that I would say to have to watch with Seth Curry is, he's a very streaky shooter, and he did come to play against Philadelphia recently. So that might help his game. So he might be, his shot might be flowing today. But I think RJ has the advantage size-wise, physically. I think he can play some good defense against Seth Curry. And I think conversely, on the opposite end, I think Seth Curry is going to have his hands full with RJ, because this is one, he didn't have to deal with him. I don't even know if he was on the team the last time RJ didn't play. But if he was, he didn't have to deal with him then. And then this is a different RJ than what we saw in that first game. So a lot more aggressive RJ Barrett. And so I think he can definitely give not just Seth Curry, but a lot of that Nets guard rotation some issues.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Because, when you look at that guard rotation from Patty Mills, Bruce Brown, Seth Curry, RJ should be able to use his physicality over any one of these guys.
Agreed.
Any one of these guys, he should be. Bruce Brown is kind of tough, but RJ should be able to use his physicality over those guys. That's going to be an advantage that the Knicks have.
Mm-hmm. But after I've seen what RJ can do against Jimmy Butler,
right? Yeah,
RJ should be able to do what he's got to do against anybody.
Right. So that's a big advantage for the New York Knicks. The Brooklyn Nets, they beat the Philadelphia 76ers, like they blew them out, right? 129-100 in the last game. And they got some guys coming off the bench that, can, defend R.J. Barrett if they need to.
Right.
Okay, you got James Johnson that can come off the bench and defend R.J. Barrett. He's an older guy, crafty defender, strong defender. You know what I mean? So if R.J. Barrett is giving you problems, then you might say, hey, we need to go with James Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they have some options if R.J. Barrett is really giving them problems. You know what I mean? But if you do that, then you're taking a shooter off the floor. Right? Let's not forget they also got Goran Dragic now coming in off the bench. He's just.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's just.
Yeah, they got Goran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think he's going to start. I think Patty Mills starts, but you got a smart, guard coming off the bench. But we'll get to the bench in a minute. But anyway, R.J. Barrett is the player to watch today, ladies and gentlemen. The Thrive Fantasy player to watch. Please go to thrivefantasy.com. Use the code NBK and get a 100% match of your first deposit up to $100. And then the next matchup, this is the key matchup of the game. All right, this is the key matchup of the night. Julius Randle and Kevin Durant. All right, that's the Thrive Fantasy matchup of the night. Julius Randle normally plays well against the Nets. In 2 games versus the Nets this season, he's averaging 27.5 points a game, 9.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, shooting 47.7% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. The Knicks need this Julius Randle to show up today. He's got to show up today. All right, and then Kevin Durant in 1 game versus the Knicks, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, shot 39.1% from the field. He did not hit a 3. He attempted a few, but he didn't hit any, and he shot 100% from the free throw line. But Julius Randle's got to show up and play well against Kevin Durant today. He normally does, right? And I'm not going to expect Julius Randle to get 27 every time he comes out against KD, but we need him to be efficient. We need him to put pressure on the Nets and make Kevin Durant have to play defense. Because when you look at that starting lineup, unless they decide that they're going to put Kevin Durant on Mitchell Robinson and make Andre Drummond guard Julius Randle, I think, I don't know if they could do that to try to save Kevin Durant from getting into any foul trouble until later on in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, even if Andre Drummond is on Julius Randle, that should be an advantage for Julius Randle. I don't think Andre Drummond can guard Julius Randle. Right? So it'll probably be Kevin Durant on Julius Randle, and Julius Randle needs to have a good game for the Knicks to be successful today. What's your thoughts on this matchup? Thrive Fantasy matchup of the night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I agree with you here. Julius needs to just continue doing, don't overthink it. Just continue playing the way you've been playing these past few games. Go out there with that same energy, that same passion. If your shot's not falling, continue to create. In the OKC game, he was intentionally his shot wasn't horrible, but I guess at some points when he was taking a couple threes, he felt like it wasn't really clicking. He did a couple fallaways. He started to really get into the lane and start to back down some of these OKC players. And I think if he continues with that same mindset, I come out the gate, he wants to shoot those shots. If the shot's falling, great, keep it going. But if the shot's not falling, get down there in the paint, back down, do what you were doing. I mean, I think it was huge to see how he was playing against OKC, and he gave us a chance to win that game. He needs to do that same thing against Durant. He usually plays pretty good against Durant. Durant's going to get his. That's a problem because that's a matchup issue. That length and the way Durant shoots is always going to be an issue. But yeah, I think that's all he needs to focus on. Just don't overthink it. Just play your game, and things will work out for him.
Yeah, I agree. Don't overthink it. Just play physical, play hard, go to the basket the way you've been going to the basket. Put some pressure on KD. You're not going to stop KD on the other side of the floor.
Nope.
Right? So you got to put some pressure on him on the offensive side because, KD's going to do KD things. But Julius Randle, Kevin Durant, that is the Thrive Fantasy matchup of the night. Again, ladies and gentlemen, go to thrivefantasy.com, use the code NBK, and you'll get a 100% match of your first deposit up to $100. And then lastly, for the starting lineup, you got Mitchell Robinson and Andre Drummond. Right? 2 guys who have, kind of a similar game. Andre Drummond is maybe a bit more physical than Mitchell Robinson. Stronger. He's older than Mitchell Robinson. But Mitchell Robinson's been playing really, really good basketball. And this is one of the guys that I think he's struggled with in the past. And I'd like to see Mitchell Robinson really come out and have a good game against Andre Drummond today.
Agreed.
What's your thoughts on this game? And of course, the Knicks are going to need Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebound, and they're going to need his ability to block shots and affect shots. But what's your thoughts?
Well, I tell you, you nailed it. I mean, it's everybody can see it. And Mitch has just been playing really good. Outside of forget the fact that it's a contract year for him. Let's give him guy a lot of credit, man. He's been out there. He's been basically healthy for the whole season, and he's playing hard. And what I like about what I'm seeing from Mitch, which is surprising, I would have to look back at the last couple games to pay attention to what he's been doing. But what I saw him do in that OKC game, I mean, he had his double-digit points, whatever it was. I think it was 10 or something like that. He had 18 rebounds, 8 offensive, 8 defensive. What impressed me, though, is he had 3 steals and 4 assists and 4 or 5 blocks. I'm like, okay, this is the type of stuff I'm not used to seeing from Mitch. So if he's trying to really affect the game on all levels, I mean, listen, sky's the limit with this young guy.
Yeah.
So I think that he can definitely win this matchup with Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond's thing is he has that physical body, so he is able to get boards. But you know what? Even watching him lately, he's lost a little bit of a step. He's not as dominant on the boards as he used to be. And Mitch is starting to come into his own. So I think Mitch should win this matchup. And I think that he'll do a really good job on the boards against Drummond.
Yeah,
despite what Drummond does.
Yeah, I think that Drummond has become, he's one of these guys right now is finding himself again in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
After leaving Detroit, he's figuring out, okay, where do I fit in? Am I an ancient center or do I still have a place in this league? You know what I mean?
Right.
And trying to figure out what his place is in the league. So I think he's going through a little bit of that right now. You know what I mean? But matchup-wise, as far as what they've done against each other throughout their career, against Mitchell Robinson, Andre Drummond has averaged 17 points, 16 rebounds throughout his career against Mitchell Robinson. Robinson against Drummond, 7.2 points and 6 rebounds. Hopefully, this is a change in the guard, though. Where Mitchell Robinson is, stepping up and becoming, better than Andre Drummond. My only concern not about this matchup, really. My concern about Mitchell Robinson is that he is Andre Drummond. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my concern about Mitchell Robinson is that, 3-4 years from now, you figure out, yeah, he's basically Andre Drummond. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully not. Hopefully his game expands, but right now Mitchell Robinson is on a rise, and Andre Drummond is trying to figure out where he fits in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's where it is right now. Looking at these two teams over the last 2 games, the Nets have outscored the Knicks 111.5 to 108, out-rebounded the Knicks 44.5 to 43. The Knicks actually have more assists than them, or averaging more assists than them in these 2 games, 24.5 to 24. Both teams 6 steals. The Knicks 5.5 blocks, the Nets 4. The Knicks 10.5 turnovers, the Nets 9. Both teams 46% from the field. The Knicks 37.5% from 3. The Nets 30.6. The Knicks actually shoot well from the free throw line versus this team at 90%, and the Nets at 75% versus the Knicks. Obviously, this is a different team, right? The first time they played them, they had totally different players, and then the second time they played them, they had most of the players that they have now, but no Kevin Durant.
That's big.
Right? And now today you got Kevin Durant. So this is a totally different team that the Knicks are playing. They got Kevin Durant and Goran Dragic. Totally different team that the Knicks are playing out there. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I don't know if these numbers mean a whole heck of a lot, to tell you the truth. With the way that this game, with who's playing out there on the floor, this probably doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Because, it's just 2 different basketball teams out there.
True.
My keys to the game today: 1, hold a lead. My goodness. We were able to do it for 3 games straight, but then against Memphis, we went back to some old habits.
Right.
All right, hold the lead. Take care of the basketball. The Knicks, they've been kind of up and down in that category. When it comes to taking care of the basketball, they haven't taken care of the basketball the way that they normally do. You know what I'm saying? And teams. Luckily, Memphis didn't kill the Knicks in that department, right? I was kind of surprised that the Knicks had, I think, 15 turnovers and they only scored 16 points off those turnovers. All right. that means, you're getting back on defense and you're making it up, et cetera, et cetera. But, man, you can't play around. You know what I'm saying? Because if you continue to play around that way, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get in trouble. I mean, and the Nets aren't, they're not the type of team that's going to play super duper fast and beat you up and down the court. But you don't want to, you just don't want to take the chance. Take care of the basketball, because while they may not get up and down the court, they got guys that can kill you.
Right.
And take advantage of your mistakes. You know what I mean? So, you got to take care of the basketball. Don't let the others kill you, right? You know what KD is going to do. Don't let the other guys kill you. You know what I mean? The Seth Currys and Bruce Browns and Patty Mills and stuff like that. At least keep them to their average. Don't let one of those guys get off on you. I think that's going to be the problem, though. One of those guys are going to get off. Who's it going to be? You know what I mean? And then, of course, you got defensive rotations, communication, and rebound the basketball. That's going to be important against a team that could shoot it with Seth Currys and Patty Mills. And you got Cam Thomas coming off the bench that can score the ball. Goran Dragic coming off the bench. You know what I'm saying? These are guys that can hurt you if you let them get loose.
Right.
Right. And we didn't get a chance to talk about the bench. I want to get your keys, and then we'll talk about the benches a little bit. And then, of course, execute down the stretch. Got to execute down the stretch. Bottom line, the Knicks didn't do it against Memphis. They didn't execute down the stretch. A lot of games this season, the Knicks didn't execute down the stretch. Against Brooklyn, of course, they gave up a 28-point lead, but they didn't execute well enough down the stretch to pull it out. Right? So, your thoughts, Ron?
I'm going to say that, I think that the Knicks need to really just lock in on the same things, the same principles on the defensive end that they've been doing. Continue to play physical, with these guys. Don't let them get anything easy. Their closeouts have been pretty good with regards to three-point shooting in the past few games. Now, I know, unfortunately, not having Cam out there kind of hurts that a little bit, because when I saw Cam, Deuce, and RJ out there at the same time, their closeouts were tremendous on the three-point line. That affected change, but they don't have that luxury at the moment. So just continue to try to do that. Hopefully, I think a key today will be if we're able to see Deuce more than 10 minutes, like we saw him in the OKC game. If we're able to see him to the level of what we've seen previously, 16, maybe 17 minutes. I think today's game actually might be a good one for Jericho Sims. If he's able to kind of really get going and play more than 6 minutes. I think Andre Drummond is not a true 7-foot center. I think he's undersized. So that lends towards Jericho Sims. I think they have a good shot to really just, if they play just smart basketball, limit the turnovers, continue to, look for each other on the floor, because I don't know if you saw this. I took a screenshot of it. I didn't know when I was going to bring it up, but now is the perfect time, right? Real quick. I saw something that said, I guess RJ's take on the Grizzlies loss. He said they got a really good team. They really know their system. They share the ball. They're happy for each other's success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he was trying to say by that, but yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, that's what the Knicks need to do. Yeah. Share the ball and build on each other's successes. And I think they'll be good today.
Yeah. No doubt about that. I definitely read that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the game is going to start. I'll let you get over to the basketball game. I do want to remind you that if you are a member, we have the members-only watch-along. Make sure you join us for that watch-along. The link is already in the community section. We did a post. I put a link to that post here in the YouTube chat. You can only access that post if you're a member. So, you can click on it if you're not a member. It's going to tell you to become a member. Sorry. Sorry, just special for the members. You have a watch along. Come join us in there. It's going to be dope, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on the game preview not the game preview, the post-game show about 3:45 or something like that. All right, so join us on the post-game show. If you're a member, hopefully we see you in the members watch along route, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.